Putin freaks out, terrified by the black sky over all of Moscow, in an explosive political image that has taken over social media in the last few hours.
That's how I am. And basically at first, a cover that practically doesn't move.
It works.
The horizon is blue, and above us there's a layer. Look, over there, there's a normal moon. My mother! And then I go in the other direction and I feel like she's taking up space. Maybe really something so serious is shining. I don't know, friends.
No, but that seems strange.
In the early morning of July 18, 2026, a gigantic wave of Ukrainian drones crossed several Russian regions. It hit wild berries logistics centers in Kotovsk, in the Tambov region, and in Elektrostal, in the Moscow region, as well as causing a fire at an oil depot in Noginsky. Russia itself claimed to have shot down 379 drones over 19 regions. Crimea is occupied, as well as areas of the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. Of these devices, 64 are said to have headed toward Moscow. The deadliest attack occurred in Kotovsk. 7 night shift workers died and 25 were injured after drones hit the Wildberries Logistics Center, according to the regional governor, Yevgeny Pervishov.
The recent governor simulated 2 million terrorists and stayed with me.
Staying here.
Cool, good job. Staying close. Staying. Around 8, the drone fell on the grass, guys.
In Elektrostal, another large warehouse of the company was hit and 24 people were injured. In Noginsky, the fire at the oil depot left 2 people injured and forced the preventive evacuation of patients from a nearby maternity hospital. The Associated Press reported that the series of attacks left at least 8 dead and more than 60 injured on Russian territory. In this video, published by Ja in Kiev, 4 angles capture thick columns of smoke rising over the Moscow region. The size of the fire dominates the horizon and shows that the Russian defense was unable to prevent important targets from being hit, even after announcing hundreds of interceptions. In the video released by Claude, the column appears compact, dark, and visible from a great distance. The footage published by the little think tank Profile shows the smoke seen from an airplane window, a sign that the fire has reached a scale that's hard to hide. The image published by Luis Duclos shows the fire spreading across a large area of the Elektrostal logistics complex. The post refers to the place as a center used to store parts employed in drones that attack Ukrainian cities. This link was made by Volodymyr Zelensky. The president of Ukraine stated that 2 large logistics centers, one in the Moscow region and another in Tambov, were used to supply components under sanctions, intended for the production of drones and navigation equipment. According to Zelensky, the locations were more than 500 kilometers and almost 700 kilometers from the front line. This is the justification presented by Kyiv for treating the warehouses as part of the Russian military structure. Zelensky said that the operation was a response to Russian attacks against Ukrainian cities, communities, and civilian infrastructure. He called these actions long-range sanctions, a strategy that aims to target within Russia what sustains the production of weapons, the transportation of fuel, and the movement of equipment. The offensive also reached oil facilities, vessels used in military logistics in the Black and Azov Seas, the patrol ship, and an important railway bridge in occupied territory. The fire at Wildberries caused a major operational humiliation for Russia because the target was not near the border. Elektrostal is located in the industrial belt of the Moscow region, while Kotovsky is hundreds of kilometers from Ukraine. Russia announced that it shot down 28 drones over Tambov and hundreds throughout the operation, but the devices that got through the defenses were enough to set fire to 2 gigantic complexes and an oil depot. That's where the version of absolute control sold by the Kremlin takes a brutal hit. The system intercepted many devices, but it didn't protect locations that Kyiv classified as parts of Russia's drone supply chain. The videos published by the Confrontation Report and the Spas e Liberdade profile show a band of very dark clouds over neighborhoods in the Moscow region. The scene looks like a black ceiling moving over the houses and created the feeling that the entire capital had been covered. The strength of these recordings lies in the contrast. While Russian propaganda tries to show normality, residents film a threatening sky and explosions hitting areas that previously seemed protected. In this video published by Mario Naufal, Russian footage shows attacks against Ukrainian cargo vessels and port facilities in the Black Sea. The action was presented as retaliation for the Ukrainian campaign against Russian shipping. The figure of more than 130 ships hit, mentioned in the publication, still varies depending on the source. An investigation by the Financial Times found that 116 vessels were attacked between July 1st and July 14th, including oil tankers, cargo ships, and support vessels. In recent hours, Russia has also resumed attacks on Ukrainian ports, damaged foreign vessels, and killed crew members, escalating a conflict that now affects trade routes, exports, and fuel. This Russian retaliation does not erase the problem created within its own territory. Ukrainian attacks on refineries have already caused fuel shortages, increased diesel prices, and made it difficult for Russian farmers to transport and sell grain.
They're scared in the basements. Thank you for watching. We can take a look. What?
The largest refinery in Russia, in Omsk, stopped after an attack at the beginning of July. The Moscow refinery, hit in June, could be out of operation for at least 6 months. Now, the fire in Omsk increases pressure on an energy network that is already strained by damage and disruptions. Wildberries is the largest online retailer in Russia and also serves millions of ordinary consumers. That's why the deaths of civilian workers are a serious consequence and cannot be treated as a mere detail. Kyiv claims that the facility was used to supply the Russian military machine, but the fact that employees died shows how the war has directly entered the daily lives of the population. The Kremlin has launched attacks for years against Ukrainian cities and now faces drones reaching the industrial centers that fuel its own operation. Ukraine has reached facilities deep inside Russian territory, forced authorities to mobilize emergency teams, and expose flaws in a defense that Moscow presents as practically impenetrable. Russia needs to protect at the same time depots, refineries, logistics centers, ports, vessels, and the airspace of the capital. Each target hit forces the Kremlin to move its defenses, interrupt production, and explain why hundreds of drones are able to get through one of the most celebrated air defense networks in Russian propaganda. While emergency teams fight the fire and count the victims, Ukraine shows that it can take the war hundreds of kilometers from the border and reach structures that Moscow considered out of reach. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Support our project and contribute financially through the Pix key that appears on your screen. We are an independent channel focused on keeping you truthfully informed. Your contribution helps us keep going.